Several millions of Egyptian citizens who were protesting and demonstrating few weeks ago are now giving their voice and their words into the voting box on the day of public referendum upon proposed constitutional amendments, whether to get back to 1971's constitution, then electing new parliament and new president whose almost unlimited powers, or to reject the constitution and electing a new constituent assembly to put a totally new constitution, are the two fateful options through which Egyptians will determine the reform mechanism they will choose to establish the new Egyptian Republic.
I think now there's a lot of turmoil. There are organized powers in Egypt, and there are lots of powers that are not organized. And I would prefer to give time to the powers that are not organized to organize themselves.
The scene reflecting long lines of citizens in all ages and among all religious, cultural and political backgrounds waiting to give their votes is unprecedented in Egyptian modern political history. Most of these people are participating in a public voting process for the first time ever and believing that their votes are really counting.
My first time to vote, yes. I will vote no. I need a new constitution immediately. I'm not sure about the new members in the parliament or the people that were referred to me. So I need now.
It is. Well, actually, I grew up in England, so I'm British Egyptian, so I grew up voting in England. But to be honest, it didn't mean as much as it means today to be my first time to vote for Baladi in my country.
This is the first time in my life to vote in Egypt, and I just arrived from abroad. And I really feel it's very special that my voice can make a difference.
It is my first time to vote. I think it's a long process that's going to take time, and we should be patient, we shouldn't speed things, and we should be optimistic.
Although public intentions and views are widely conflicting, whether to vote by yes or no, there are deep positive feelings and optimistic impressions among all participants regarding the next phase in political institution.
Of course it is incredible. The turnout is truly inspirational from all generations. It's amazing to watch. It's amazing just to see people queuing up like this and getting ready to vote from all walks of life, from all generations. It's truly, truly inspirational. And let's hope this is the first step in many.
Of course, yeah, I'm very positive that this is the first real elections that Egypt is witnessing since maybe the 30s.
This time we are talking about a typical democratic model, regardless of any excesses if any occurred, but we are talking about a process approached through a political resolution committed to and respecting people's demands. So things are moving smoothly, and this proved that Egyptians are eligible for democratic and liberal political life, not as was being commonly promoted.
An Egyptian wife came with her daughter to give her the first political lesson in her life.
Well, I tried to explain to her a bit about the constitution and about what's been going on ever since the revolution started. She's kind of grasping a bit of it, and she's just voting like her mother.
People in Egypt could realize that their votes will count. The biggest public participation in all constituencies in the first unprecedented democratic process shaping the next phase in political reform and the institution of the new Egyptian Republic. For KTV2, this is Ahmed AlQotb reporting from Cairo, Egypt. Egyptian capital witnessed a wide international attention during the past couple of days. Constitutional political reform in Egypt and regional turnaround in the Middle East were in focus in many summits and official meetings. United Nations Secretary General Mr. Ban Ki-moon conducted his first meeting with Egyptian officials yesterday at Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs headquarters, discussed current democratic process and social political changes.
In the very important historic transition toward the fuller democracy and more participatory democracy, how United Nations can help strengthen Egyptian government capacity to provide more freedom, democracy, opportunities to young people.
complicated situation in Libya cast its shadows on all discussions. Ban Ki-moon referred to his emergency summit held with French President regarding the implementation of UN Security Council's Resolution 1973 and protecting civilian population in Libya.
To take this moment to say about Libya. As you know, I'm coming from Paris after having attended emergency summit meeting convened by President Sarkozy. And Security Council has taken a very historic resolution. And based on this, some of the member states have taken very decisive action to implement. And the main purpose of this action is to protect the civilian population.
This concern was on top of discussion's agenda in today's meeting held between Sergei Lavrov, Russian Federation's Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Mr. Amr Moussa, Arab League Secretary General, in which they discussed erupting situation and changes roaming the Arab region in Yemen, Libya, Bahrain, and Palestinian territory. Russian minister affirmed in press conference that his country firmly refuses the use of military force to solve internal conflicts.
We clearly refer that we refuse the use of military force to solve internal conflicts, especially against civilians.
Russian position regarding military actions deployed using NATO facilities was negative. However, Russian minister assured on his country's support for Arab League proposal for Security Council to hold his responsibilities towards civilians in Libya.
We have discussed the way to implement UN Security Council Resolution number 1973. We supported Arab League position regarding their call to Security Council in order to protect civilians in Libya.
On the other hand, Amr Moussa referred that further meetings is being held between Russian and Arab officials in Moscow, and a joint security meeting will be held soon between Arab League delegates and Russian officials in order to push Palestinian reconciliation process and stop illegal movements in Palestinian lands by Israeli government.
I hope that the veto which prevented this conciliation has fallen, and diplomatic maneuvers aimed to deepen the division have retreated. So we support the initiation declared recently by President Mahmoud Abbas. We also support statements declared by leaders of Hamas and other Palestinian organizations, telling that it's time of reconciliation without any conditions or constraints.
International movements towards Middle East turnaround has taken more inertia, while Russian Federation tends to act independently through Egypt, the main hub of political change and public influence in the region. For KTV2, this is Ahmed AlQotb reporting from Arab League headquarters, Cairo, Egypt.